presenting Frames from Imaginando. This is an innovative multi-layer synth combining FM synthesis with granular processing. With 4 simultaneous layers, transform onboard sounds, live audio, or even use your own samples. Before we get into the specifics, here's a taste of what Frames sounds like. Frames is designed to be a complex and rich sounding synthesizer with a user-friendly interface. It runs on PC and Mac and features 4 layers that can be assigned to granular or FM synthesis. Then they're pushed through a variety of controls, envelopes, matrices and modifiers. Sound shaping possibilities are endless, creating soundscapes, leads, drones, crispy metallic textures and much more. In this video, I'm going to be looking at some of the standout features of Frames. Also, don't forget to check out the wealth of other tutorial videos from Imaginando that show how to create gorgeous presets from almost any kind of sound source. So let's dive in. This is the main interface of Frames, and it's a very versatile synth with lots of features, but it's still really simple to use once you get to grips with the processing and routing. If you've previously used an FM or granular synth, you'll see some familiar controls. How these controls interact is where the magic happens. Settings can be found just here. Here you'll see menus for your profile, online store, MIDI, and the main settings. These include options for engaging MPE mode, setting pitch bend range, MIDI channels, and the number of voices, useful for unison mode, which I'll look at a bit later. Along the bottom of the interface you'll see a virtual keyboard, with range and zoom settings controlled by these 2 little knobs. Click here to enter the chorder mode, useful for some specific types of MIDI hardware, with options for major chords along the top row, minor chords in the middle, and major sevenths along the bottom. Play individual notes with the horizontal lines, and change the range with these arrows. This top status bar is useful. It's where you'll find the browser for loading preset patches. These can be filtered with the tags on the right. You can also save your own creations here, and flick through presets with the up and down arrows. This button is great fun, keeping audio waveforms but randomizing all the other parameters to create wild sounds. Reset a preset back to default just here. There's also a handy setting for MIDI Learn. Just click here, and then click any parameter and move your MIDI hardware fader to assign. Let's get into the layers themselves. These two layer windows are exactly the same in terms of functionality. The reason there's two is that this allows you to visualize and adjust two different aspects of your sound simultaneously. For example, I can look at layer 1's waveform and granular controls, or the envelopes and matrices, or modifiers and global controls. That was just layer 1. Here are layers 2, 3, and 4. You can even unlock the layer visuals here to view different panels from different layers simultaneously. Notice that layer 4 is not a sampled waveform, but an oscillator producing a square wave in this case. Let's solo layer 4 and take a quick look at what's going on with this simple layer. There are plenty of controls you'll probably already be familiar with from other synths. There are two envelopes, this one for amplitude and the other for filter cutoff. You can use the controls underneath to shape the envelopes, or just drag them around. You can also invert them. The panning that you're hearing is being controlled by an LFO. A peek into the matrix panel shows that it's LFO 4, assigned to pan. You can use this matrix to assign source, LFOs, envelopes, mod wheel, keyboard, velocity, and aftertouch. Just drag the numbers to assign sources to a destination along the top. This first block are regular destinations that can be applied to any sound, the rest are for granular processing assignments. The actual LFOs can be found in the Modifiers panel. 4 of them just here. There's also an arpeggiator with all the controls you'd expect. Let's reset the sound and look at layer 1. Soloing it. With the waveform and control panels shown, I'll demo some important controls. At the moment, we're looking at Granulator Mode, with the engine combining a large number of tiny audio units or grains over time, resulting in complex sound structures. How these grains are played is dictated by the controls here: offset, size, density, and a few others. You can see the two lines in the waveform showing which part of the sample the grains are being taken from. This can easily be changed. I'll turn off the randomness so that you can hear. Density controls the number of grains. The real fun comes when you start adjusting the playback window, adding randomization, widening the stereo spread, and introducing delay and reverb. Of course, the resulting sound will entirely depend on the source sample, which you can easily swap out for some factory sounds just here. Don't forget to play with these controls, changing filter types and cutoff, resonance and tuning. It's also super easy to drag in your own samples. And you can switch to input mode, processing live sound on the go. Just here is where you'd swap from waveforms to oscillators. Tucked away in the global menu is one of the most useful routing controls of frames, the FM mode section just here. Without going into too much detail about how frequency modulation works, let's just say that it's possible for waveforms to interact with one another, modulating their oscillator characteristics. Because frames features 4 different layers of waveforms, this sound has 4 very simple waveforms. The layout of the chain of different layers can have a huge effect on the resulting sound. This section of the interface is where you can change the order and routing of the layers. With FM mode turned off, we'll just hear the 4 sounds layered on top of one another. But switching FM on and changing the FM mode chain results in some very different sounds, as the oscillators interact with one another. Also in this global panel, you'll find options for playback mode, useful for creating mono lead lines, or for thickening up sounds with unison mode, with a number of voices chosen just here on the settings bar. There are also global delay, reverb and filter controls. Hopefully that quick run through has given you a good idea of the different ways you can use frames to sculpt sound, from massive multi-layered leads to subtle wavering granular pads. Try the demo out for yourself and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.